Good evening and welcome to the August 14th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda, removing item BA 24-053?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call vote.
Director Borcherdine? Aye. Director Garlock?
Aye.
Director Merschbrock? Aye. President Tominski?
I will now turn the meeting over to Superintendent Grover for your report.
Okay, thank you, President Tominski. Okay. So what a month it's been. We've dived head first into some exciting new beginnings here. The Cedar Rapids Community School District Board of Education's decision to approve the petition language for the bond referendum is a significant step in the right direction towards investing in the future of our students, staff, and community. This decision demonstrates a robust commitment to providing the best possible learning environment for our students and staff. Now our community is out mobilizing and gathering the necessary signatures to put the petition on the ballot for November 7th. The 6,319 signatures we need will give Cedar Rapids Community School District's residents the opportunity to be a part of making a difference in the future generations. We are requesting a $2.70 per $1,000 assessed taxable value increase in district's property tax levy rate, which is still comparable to our neighboring districts. By 2037, this is the exciting part of it all buildings in our inventory will either be renovated or new. The last time the Cedar Rapids Community School District requested a bond from the taxpayers was 23 years ago. So I just want to say thank you to the Board of Education for your ability to maximize the community's resources for so many years. Our leadership journey with the Executive Cabinet kicked off on August the 7th, and the energy in the room was very positive. You can see all of our leaders there. We spent our time discovering more about each other, delving into the draft strategic plan, and exploring our leadership and support delivery model. The team discussed managing change and transitions while creating a psychologically safe workplace. We received an update from the DOJ, and administrators were able to discuss and clarify their questions. It was quite exhilarating and promises to be an incredible journey ahead. Did want to circle back. I know we've been talking a little bit about our organizational structure, and we brought pieces of it to you. So I guess now is that opportunity where it's hitting the streets within the school district per se. We had an opportunity to share it out with our Executive Leadership Council, and we're continuing to tweak. If you notice, you have a copy at your seat, Board of Education. There is a date on it as we continue to kind of fine tune, so just so you are aware of that. So I'd like to update you on how we will implement our leadership and systems of support delivery model. As you recall, we have discussed being able to organize our campuses into areas, area 1, 2, and 3. You see our chiefs here with us tonight. But also, you can note on the chart that's in front of you, the support system that's in place. So for each of our areas, we identify the schools that we're going to serve. This is most important for us, and you can even see how this organizational chart has flattened so that we are more of a collaborative community across our system, and where we are looking for that cohesive and coherent approach where we have an alignment of services that no matter which school you attend in Cedar Rapids Community School District, you can be guaranteed a set of services and support. So what do those supports look like? If you would just go with me to either one of the areas, I'll just use area 3 here. You can see that in each of our areas, we have our chief of schools, where the majority of their time is spent coaching and supporting principals, with the majority of time out in buildings, understanding their needs, their school improvement plans, and making sure that they have the leadership support and expectations that are needed to drive student achievement. In order to support it, we know that there are many facets of educating a student. So you can see, number one, we have an equity coach within each of our areas, and you can see the individuals that are assigned to that particular area, where we will continue to evolve our equity work. We spend a lot of time with the assessments, the IDI assessments that the district has been embarking upon. We also look to kind of move to the next progression of that work, where we are looking at student achievement data and looking for some of the barriers and how equity plays a role in supporting all students. When I say all, I mean all, and that means that different student groups, and that means whether or not it's students that need additional support just to be able to be up to grade level, but also we have our gifted and talented students, special education students, students from different backgrounds, and we want to make sure that we are taking an equity approach to all of our learners. We also have our school improvement coach. With the school improvement coach, this is an opportunity to elevate the school improvement plans that are designed by our campus leaders, but with a huge focus on our assessments. We know we have the Iowa assessments to contend with, as well as our local assessments here, and all of our work should be driving towards academic outcomes for our students. We have our teacher leader coach. Excited about this position. We realize that we want to continue to grow and elevate our staff members, and the teacher leader coaches, their primary role will be to coach other potential teacher leaders, where they can have access to other teachers that can be served as mentors or coaches that support them, especially when we think about some of our new teachers, or just if we have, for example, we have new curriculum, other areas that they would be able to support and coach as we continue to have highly effective teachers across our system. We also have a director of special education for each of the areas, and a student services specialist. With our student services specialists, we know that they focus on things like our homeless population, attendance, SEL supports, and other wraparound services. Parent involvement and engagement as well would be an additional focus for that group this year. There are other parts of the organization that supports our areas. You can see our Office of Business Services. We have our Chief of Staff, of course, Information and Technology, Human Resources, Operations, and the Office of Academics. Again, everybody working towards the same common goal of supporting our learners. Also want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about our extended cabinet. Of course, it takes a team. I think that's my key word that I laid out with at our executive council meeting. That's what's top of mind for me, is building a strong and solid team. You have another sheet here at your seat that will kind of break it down a little bit further. Of course, we have our executive cabinet, but we also have our extended cabinet as well. These would be consistent of district administrators and teacher leaders. I won't call the names out, but you have the list here, and you can see that we have some leadership coaches that are here. Our positions for technology, data, CTE, business is representative, but we go another layer deep because these people are a little bit closer to our system's work. We want to make sure that they're able to give us updates in regards to what's happening in our system, feedback back and forth, and we can, all of us can talk about what we're seeing at the campus levels, and so that we are on the same page and that we are working towards honoring our strategic plan goals. Speaking of strategic plan, in June, I took the initiative to explain the executive cabinet, and we've been making steady progress here. Our team has been working towards building trust among our team, and I would say that it's been paying off with the team, with the work that's underway. We've been meeting weekly, and we'll continue to do so throughout the year. As we talk about everyone in our organization, we value coaching, and that means that we also have a coach as a leadership team. We've been able to meet with our coach. She's provided us 2.5 days of learning, 2 observation cycles, and feedback sessions as well. We've been able to identify our 6 defining objectives that we're working on for our district, as well as 8 standard operational objectives. I can report on those at a later time, but it's given us a clear roadmap to follow. Each of our teams, we had to establish what are our key objectives that we want to meet over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and that's part of our focus in how we are organized when we come to our meetings so that they are meaningful. We also shared this out with our executive cabinet, and I'm going to share it out here tonight because I want us to be on the same page and understand what we're striving for, and also that we can hold ourselves accountable. So why do we exist? And what you see here, this came from our executive cabinet, knowing that leadership is very important for the school district. We see and unleash all people's talents for all student success. How do we behave? We want to be reflective learners. We know that we're learning a lot and we're learning as fast as we can. We want to be hopeful as well as committed, but we also want to be tenacious. We don't want to give up. We want to keep moving towards the results that we know that you expect. What do? We set strategic direction, allocate resources, and lead systems of support. How will we succeed? How will we know that we're successful as an organization? Stakeholder satisfaction. We know that we may not be able to please everyone, but I think we want to make sure that our numbers are indicating that people want to stay in our district, they want to be a part of it. And even when we have to make tough decisions, that we're explaining the why, and we're still trying to support people along the way. We want to make sure that we create a competitive edge. We want to be known across the country for the great work that's happening here. And of course, we want to be the most competitive within our area. We also want to create safe spaces. That's for our staff, our students, and our families alike. What is the most important thing for us right now, meaning our rallying cry? We understand that we must build trust and credibility within our organization. And our approach that we are utilizing, it really comes from the research of Patrick Lenciani. We are studying the advantage, and I'm being very purposeful here in sharing this information so that we all understand how we're operating going forward. What we learn and the foundation that we're building our work on is that an organization must be smart as well as healthy. So what does it mean to be a smart organization? That means that as a smart organization, that means that we're working on strategy. We're thinking about things like our budget, like finances, like technology, all the infrastructure that goes into an organization. But in order for us to be healthy as an organization, that means that we're minimizing politics that play a role within our organization. This comes from his research, and this is what we are working through as a team. We're also trying to minimize the confusion. That means that we have clarity of our work. That we are promoting high morale is important to us, high productivity as well as low turnover. This ties directly into our strategic plan when we talk about stabilizing our school district. And in order for us to stabilize it, meaning that we must be a healthy organization. So this is the work that our leadership team constantly has in front of us, and that we are attempting to move forward. We know that for some people, and I appreciate everyone and their ability to trust us through this process, because I've had to make some tough decisions, some fast decisions in order to get us ready for the school year. And I've had to ask people to trust us along the way. And so it may not feel like it, but we're hoping that the more that we move forward, that we'll be able to establish that trust and credibility among our stakeholders. So, our new teacher welcome. So as we prepare, last Wednesday, we had an electrifying day as we welcome approximately 130 budding teachers to our school district. And so there was a lot of positive vibes, and I think people appreciate they had the opportunity to go out to their buildings and get to know each other there, as well as to come over here to central office. So I want to thank the Board of Education and our community members that were able to support it. We welcome 75 teachers that are in their first or second school year of teaching, and 58 others that are career teachers. And I was excited to hear many of them come up to me and say that they were coming back to Cedar Rapids. That's what we want to see. Just a quick update for our teacher recruitment. We have filled 93.1% of our open teaching positions since the end of April, when we first came to you with our strategy of having 100% of our classrooms filled by certified teachers by the beginning of the school year. I'm excited to announce that we have filled 32 of our 33 special education positions. That is huge. Almost like that deserves a round of applause. And we currently have 5 teacher positions open. So, Mr. Ballard, I think we have about 7 days before the kids arrive. So we have 5 more positions to hit that 100%. But I'm excited. And so we are confident with our continued efforts that we will have all the positions filled. And we do need to thank our human resources, their team. They're working hard, and doing all they can and a lot of movement. I also want to thank our campus leaders for being problem solvers along with us, our teacher leaders, as well as teachers. Some people have had to switch positions as late as today to make sure that we have enough teachers across our systems when we look at our student enrollment and where our teachers need to be. So I want to thank them for being flexible, but moreover, being committed to all students. It's not just about the one campus that we might be working at, but it's about all of the students here in Cedar Rapids Community School District. So thank you to everyone for your flexibility, leadership, and ability to make such drastic improvements in a short period of time. Thank you. Speaking of energizing our staff, we also welcome a new type of energy to our bus fleet. Last Thursday, we held a ribbon cutting ceremony for our 2 new electric buses. We now have 2 electric buses that can travel up to 120 miles. I don't know if I want to test it out, but it is a smooth ride. So it was really quiet. I don't know if it was because the kids weren't on it, but the bus itself was so quiet. 120 miles, and we also have the charging stations right here on site. So one interesting fact, did you know that replacing just one diesel bus with an electric bus is equivalent to removing 5 cars from the roadways? So thank you to our partners like Alliance and the Metro Economic Alliance and Bluebird for their support, and Scott and John and their team for all that they did to make this happen. But definitely we want to thank the leadership of our Board of Education for having a focus on sustainability. So that everyone is paying attention, so thank you. All right, now I can hardly contain my excitement as I share with you one of the most anticipated events of the school year, our all-staff kickoff. So the thought of finally seeing everyone together for the first time, it gives me such a wonderful feeling. I can't wait to see the place packed with all of our staff members. And I think it's been about 3 years since we've had this event. And so we're excited to bring it back as we prepare to set the stage, to share information. It's my understanding now, so don't hold me accountable, but we're going to hold our team members accountable, that there's going to be music, contests, student performances. So we're excited. We're ready to welcome everyone back on August the 22nd. You can see we're going to start at 8 o'clock. So to all of our staff members, yes, it is an expectation that you are there. This is not optional. And also, we would love to have our Board of Education there. So meet me at the Ice Arena. We are hyped up for it. All right, so now the magic really happens when our students get back. This is my last report here. So we have Wednesday, August the 23rd, and for our 7th and 8th graders, I think their first day will be on August the 24th. So we're excited to get the year started by welcoming everyone back. Thank you. That concludes my report for tonight.
Great, thank you so much for the report. Any board reports? I know we've got a couple of legislative updates later on.
This is separate from the legislative update. I just want to remind board members that IASB will be having a convention this fall, and it is a great place to go and meet with peers, learn about different things that are happening across the state, and just kind of learn about being a board member.
Thank you. Any other board reports? We'll now hear from those who have requested to address the board. Ryan, do we have any members of the public that have requested to address the board?
Yes, we have one.
With one speaker this evening, you'll be given 5 minutes for your remarks. Please respect the time limit allotted to the speaker. Board Secretary Rinstrom will serve as your timer and indicate when your time has expired. The time is yours to use, may not be yielded to another speaker. If you have submitted a request to address the board and choose not to speak, in the interest of equity and fairness, your time may not be yielded to another speaker. In order to abide by the open meetings law, there will be no dialogue between board members and the public during this time, except to clarify the nature of questions or comments from the individual speaking. We ask that the audience and speakers refrain from using inappropriate language and outbursts as a matter of respect for all in attendance. This board has zero tolerance for profanity, vulgarity, demeaning language, or threats of any kind. Lastly, I'd like to remind our speaker that the board is unable to address personnel and student matters. There is a process outlined in board policy which provides guidance on how to address and resolve concerns. We ask that speakers refrain from using personal names and information during public comment. Before we begin, I'd like to remind our speaker to please state your name and address for the record when called to the podium. Ryan, you can call our first speaker.
Alan Murdoch.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Alan Murdoch. My address is 930 26th Street Southeast in Cedar Rapids. My background is in design management and innovation by design. I've been a faculty member at colleges from 2000 to 2018, including 2.5 years as Dean of Academic Affairs of the Art Institute of Salt Lake City. And currently, I'm working with Dan Borngraber on his campaign for school board. I feel his name is appropriate to mention. As part of that, we've been doing a number of feedback sessions with the public, and something that's come up with, and we've also had one-on-one conversations with faculty and administrators and so forth. And one of the things that has come up multiple times is a report that was conducted by Top Rank on DEI and employee satisfaction. And we're kind of at a point where we can't move forward with some of our messaging because we feel there's a discrepancy between the messages that people are telling us are in this report, which nobody can seem to provide to us, and some of the other things that we see going on. So we're requesting that report. What has been described to us is 80 to 90% of faculty or teachers feeling that they don't have control to innovate and adapt and create new ideas within their classroom, and that they're restricted in doing things that the administration expects them to do. And in hearing that, I heard a discrepancy, Dave, between some of our conversations and the kinds of workshops that you've described providing to the school district at Whiskey Friday, which is a social event hosted through 1 Million Cups, which is every Friday. We were talking about, a workshop that you did, and you said, I got this workshop together. I didn't bill the school district. I didn't invoice the school district. And that struck me that you're in a situation where you're president of the school board and also part of an organization that bills the school district. And so your point was that the workshop that you had given was something that you innovated, that you pitched and then went and presented, and that it helped impact students' ability to take their work seriously in terms of developing a business plan or innovating. And so hearing these other reports that faculty don't feel that freedom, there was a discrepancy between those two things. And so we're trying to get the report, to be able to read the report, and then to respond in terms of what it says. Thank you.
Who's the only speaker?
Yep, that is the only speaker.
Next, we're moving on to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the revised consent agenda, removing item BA 24-053?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote due to the personnel report.
Director Borcherding.
Aye.
Director Garlock.
Aye.
Director Merschbrock. Director Roundtree.
Aye.
Director Newman.
Aye.
President Tominski.
Aye. Director Borcherding, I'll turn the next item to you regarding the 2024 IASB legislative platform.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, board members, for getting back to me with your considerations. That should be our top 4 legislative priorities that we elevate to IASB. IASB will take into consideration the top 4 priorities submitted by every school district in the state and form their platform. So we have a clear consensus on student mental health. You should have a printout that shows kind of where we're at for numbers, and we do have 3 supporting early literacy and 3 supporting school safety. So, and then we have some 2s and some 1s. So we need to determine what our next 3 priorities are going to be, and that would be accomplished by people moving a vote. Well, not a vote, moving an indication of where they would like to focus. Okay. So early literacy and school safety are the seconds. The ones that have 2 are student achievement, local accountability and decision-making, private school choice, SSA. And then your indications of preference are noted by your initials.
Director Borcherding, I have a question. So early literacy and school safety both have 3 votes, correct?
Correct.
So would those be our next 2 choices after mental health?
They could be. Yep.
We're looking for a 4th choice
Yes, that would move a 2 to a 3.
that would move a 2 to a 3. Okay.
I think we see student achievement with 2. And though on the initial assessment that you sent out, Director Borcherding, that might not have been a choice that I had selected over others, but I do think based on what we're seeing in the strategic plan and a lot of the focus for this school district, I could see student achievement being something that I would wholeheartedly support and adjust my vote if that's what it would take to give that to give that the number 4 spot.
That is absolutely a possibility. I do want to call the board's attention to that if those are our top 4 priorities, there is no focus on funding, which would be SSA or school funding.
And just for clarification, so these are priorities that are coming down. I think there's 13 on the list from IASB, and so every district is given the opportunity to submit these to IASB, and they take that and roll that up to IASB's focus area. Is that correct?
Correct. There's actually 22 on the list, but we have, this board has selected 13 between the 7 of us, and then, again, our top 4 go to IASB. IASB takes those into consideration with the top 4 from all their districts in the state, and then those are compiled to locate the top 4 that they will be pursuing as priorities this session.
I agree with Director Borcherding that one of our priorities in some way, shape, or form should have to do with school funding, whether that be vouchers, SSA, or just general school funding. But I think that is a very high priority for me.
Maybe moving the, I would be willing to, I'll move my vote to anything you need me to, but moving it to private school choice from public school innovation down to private school choice, which I think has a lot to do with funding, would get you to 3 on that one. Say 2.
So private school choice is just opposing state policies that establish vouchers, ESA, provide direct payment of taxpayer funds to private schools, or to opposing providing direct payment of taxpayer funds to private schools or homeschool education, or increase tax credits or deductions directed towards private schools or homeschool education. So that is a consideration. I think that there's a couple of pieces there that we'd be trying to unring a bell, but just for what it's worth.
It does feel like the impossible task, right? Because I think we want to have the focus on all 22 things. So the
Sure.
thought that we're going to try to narrow this down to 4, and I don't think that that should imply necessarily that we don't want to focus on the other things, just knowing that there's limited resources at IASB and other places that we need to have that level of focus. So
Correct. Would anyone like me to read any brief definitions of what the other priorities are?
can you, I mean, if you can maybe summarize the, so 13 and 14, so SSA and then school
Sure.
funding?
SSA talks about the school aid formula, and it is the biggest driver in providing resources for high-quality education that translate to student funding and success. So that asks that we sufficiently support the ability of local districts to meet parent and community expectations and provide a world-class education for all students, provide the resources to recruit and retain a high-quality teacher and staff workforce, and incorporate inflation and cost of living increases to minimize the negative impact on a district's general fund from these increased costs. So that's SSA, that's 13. And 14, the school funding policy is again tied to funding, sufficiently supports the ability of local districts to meet parent community expectations and provide a world-class education to all students, equalizes pure per pupil funding for all program areas, equitably funds all area education agencies, maintains the funding mechanism for transportation costs that reduces the pressure on general fund, include factors based on changes in demographics, including socioeconomic status, remedial programming, and enrollment changes, reflect actual costs for special education services, support flexibility in the use of voter and board-approved special levy funds, incorporate categorical funding in the formula within 3 years, include a mix of state aid and property taxes, increase the budget guarantee to 103% to provide additional stability.
Director Borcherding, I'd just like to move mine from special education to SSA. I think a greater SSA would help us with special education and prioritizing things. Start at the biggest chunk with SSA, so I'll move my preference there.
Okay, so Director Merschbach moved from special education to SSA. Director Newman moved from public school innovation to private school choice. President Tominski moved from early literacy to student achievement. So we still have some threes. We have,
Move mine to SSA.
move yours to SSA. All right, from where?
Well, it was public school innovation, then moved to private school choice. You can move that to SSA.
Okay, so that gives us a 4. So we have mental health and SSA. The other threes that we have are student achievement, school safety.
Of just trying to land on 4, because I mean, I would be, I think that the point's well taken, that at least one of our focus areas from this district is funding, so I totally support that too. So I think the idea here is that we're going to land at like, what, 4s and 3s? So you had 3, right? So
Yep,
let's
so
just-
we have 4 if we count the threes. If you guys are okay, our top 4 will be student achievement, school safety, mental health, and SSA.
Great.
Agreed? Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Vice President Garlock, I'll turn the next item to you for discussion on the UEN legislative platform.
This is a little simpler than for IASB. The Urban Education Network is the consortium of larger schools in the state, and they also are in the process of figuring out legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session. The approach from UEN was slightly different. They provided us with 8 possible priorities, and we were to rank them from 1 to 7. So that's been done, and I'm just here to report to you the results of the rankings from everyone on the board. So our top 2 would be adequate school funding and school choice. Those both received a high priority, followed by adequate resources for at-risk students, addressing staff shortage, addressing mental health concerns, advocating for local control, and increased weighting for English language learners. Those all received a score of 6, and then cybersecurity received a score of 5. So I will report those scores to the UEN, and they will combine all of the reports from the large schools and come up with our priorities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to administration, the board is asked to consider and approve the amended engagement letter with Eilers and Cooney PC for school infrastructure sales, services, and use tax revenue bonds. Are there any questions for Carla? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. With no further business, we stand adjourned.